Hello and a very good afternoon to everyone joining me on this News 9 Facebook Live. We've been talking about the coronavirus situation across the country, but we are also focusing on the economic impact that the pandemic and the lockdown has had. So we're seeing long-term effects for many people across the country, household finances that have been affected as well. Overnight, we've seen several shops shut down. Several people have lost their jobs. Even for those who have their jobs, there is a lot of uncertainty in these times because they are not sure of how long they can keep their job. So there is a lot of uncertainty that we are all seeing around us. And there is no answer on when this uncertainty will come to an end. We can't say that perhaps now this is the situation, in another say 5 to 6 months the situation will be in control. This is a kind of pandemic that the world has not seen before, and this is the reason why we need to be extremely careful. We're taking care of our health, but it's equally important to also ensure that we are taking care of our finances. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because of the pandemic and the resulting economy being hit, how can households deal with the situation? You can join in with your comments as well on how the pandemic or the lockdown has affected your life. Have you changed your finances? For many, of course, initially when the lockdown was imposed across the country, it came as a minor relief as well, because a lot of spending that we had been doing otherwise came to a complete halt, whether it was even traveling to work. For many, they were staying home, and for many, going out in the evenings was quite often. It was very frequent, but that came to a sudden halt as well. So it came as a big relief, and suddenly there was a lot of saving that many working people had been seeing. Of course, businesses had been hit, but for employees it came as some relief. But now, because of the current situation, there's a lot more to think about, because we don't know when this uncertainty will come to an end. To give us more details and more clarity on how we can manage our finances, our spending amid this pandemic, joining me over the phone line is Mr. Rudramurthy, a finance expert who is joining to give us more clarity on what we can do. Mr. Rudramurthy, many thanks for joining us. What are your thoughts? We have seen how the economy has been hit, businesses have been hit, livelihoods have been hit quite badly. So during a situation like this, when we don't know yet when this uncertainty will come to an end, how should the finances for a family change?
See, I want all your viewers to clearly understand that these are times of survival and definitely not times of growth. Many a times what households do is, like, in these periods, they try their level best to see how they can grow. But in fact, once in a while, when you get these type of situations, might be once in a decade or once in a while, you have to focus more on ensuring your expenditure cuts down in a big way and you save as much as possible. Do not take any loans. Don't use much of your credit card. And the good times will surely come in. This cannot stay forever. One has to understand these are times when you have to focus on survival and not on growth. And people have to also get to know that this will only be for next 6 months to 1 year. And definitely post this survival period, we will have revival. And post that, growth has to come back. So keeping all these things in mind, people have to save more. They have to cut down on their expenditure and wait for good times to come.
Okay, but be wise with the spending, that's on one hand. But for many to dig into their savings as well, they're a bit hesitant because they don't know whether now do we break our savings and start spending from the same, or do we need to be more careful because we don't know if in the coming months the situation is going to be much worse, and not just in terms of the pandemic itself, but also because of the economic slump that we have seen in the country.
Definitely. If you see the latest GDP number which came for quarter one of this financial year, it was whopping negative 23.9%. This has been the worst number ever seen. In fact, even though we have got this COVID coming from China, China ended with a positive GDP of around 3 to 4%. So all this signals to me that yes, we are definitely at the bottom of the tunnel. But then one has to understand all these things will get discounted in price when it comes to investing. So you have to invest in terms of fear. In fact, Warren Buffett, the legend of stock market investing, he says when market is in fear, that is, he says clearly, like, when others are fearful, you be greedy. And when others are greedy, you be fearful. These are times when one can definitely look into even for long-term investing. And also, one has to clearly get that based on today's fundamental data, no market or no investments will be there priced in today. So it is all the future expectation based on which today you see the prices. For example, if you see gold prices having peaked, it's only because even 3 months before only you could see everyone just pressing the gold buy button, only because this economic turmoil which was there is always good for something like gold. But however, seeing this economic data, bad data today, if you think like, okay, let me start buying gold, you're too late.
Yeah.
Similarly, if you see already the fall in equity markets, especially the stock market, mutual fund, has all happened in the month of March. And from March to now, in last 4 or 5 months, you have seen markets recovering whopping 60% from the bottom. So people have to understand, in terms of fear, you have to make your long-term investment. That is where big money always lies. And when all are buying and when the whole market is greedy, that's the time you have to sell off.
Okay, but at a situation like this, would it be wise to invest? You're saying if we're investing, it should be only for the long term, but not put in all our money in one place, because in short term, we don't really know where this is heading. And also in terms of investing, what would you suggest? Because there are so many options of stocks, mutual funds, gold as well, like you mentioned. Given the current scenario, what would you suggest?
A very well said point. In fact, Harry Markowitz, a Nobel Prize winner, he says the only free lunch available in the world of investment is diversification.
Okay.
He clearly says don't put all your eggs into single basket. So you have to diversify, and always, for especially an household, everything putting it only in a bank FD or putting all your money only into stocks or only into mutual fund. Some of them think that investing in insurance, they just make great returns, and few people put all their money only into gold. These things have to be avoided. You have to diversify to get the best returns. And when I mean diversification, have at least 5 asset classes in your portfolio. When I say 5 asset class, it can be into gold, real estate, equity, mutual fund, and also into liquid bank deposits. And have normally 10 to 20% of your total investment in liquid assets like bank deposit and gold, so that if you face any emergency, that can be liquidated very fast and you can get back or convert that investment into cash. But the rest 80%, when you invest, depending upon your individual risk profile, depending upon your age, depending upon the current market situation, I can definitely tell, if someone is looking for a long-term investment of 3 to 5 years, you can pick up fantastic stocks available at cheap prices and great valuation in terms of equity market. Especially the data usage due to lockdown has been very high. Stocks like Bharti Airtel, even stock like Reliance, which is there now into a new business altogether, these are stocks which will do fantastic. And even pharma as a sector will do very, very good. Pharma, FMCG and telecom will be the good sectors. And also people have to understand, your investment into gold or your investment into bank deposits should not exceed more than 20%. And also real estate investment should never ever be like 70-80%, which some of them do as a big mistake. By diversifying and putting around 10 to 20% in each asset class, you will definitely get the benefit of averaging. And these are great times to invest if you have the longer term horizon.
Okay. So the golden word being diversification. Many thanks, Mr. Rudramurthy, for joining us and giving us those inputs for our viewers as well. Looking at investment, you need to be very cautious because we don't know when this pandemic will come to an end. We don't know when the economy will bounce back as well. So there are various factors that you need to think of. But it also means that now is the time when you can put in some savings as much as you can as of now, so that in the future, in the long term, it can be beneficial to you as well. I hope this video was very helpful to you to decide on your finances and investments as well. Do let me know in the comments on what you have done, what you have done in terms of the finances, how has it changed post the pandemic and the lockdown and in the current scenario as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.